William, good to see you. Good to see you. Absolutely. Jonathan, great to see you again. Well done. Thank you. Hey, Kirby. Pleasure. Pleasure.
Yeah.
No, good. Well, come on over. I've got something on the table here to show you what we've been up to. So this is the table here with all the actual patterns we've got. So I'm pleased to say, having you, the family of William and Jonathan Lobb today, I've managed to bring up the patterns which actually are existing with us here at Henry Poole. So, William and Jonathan have been customers here. In fact, our families go back for generations. And, obviously in my father's time, there was John Hunter Lobb, right, was your father, and he was also a customer here. So this continues very much in a family world or family businesses. So it's lovely to have these patterns up to show you two today.
Yeah, well, two of the great kind of family-owned heritage firms right here, John Lobb and Henry Poole. I mean, Henry Poole, of course, being kind of the father of Savile Row, really the first tailor on this street, and John Lobb, in many ways, kind of putting English shoemaking kind of on the international maps.
I think your firm predates us, doesn't it?
Yeah, we were sort of 1806. Barely. Yeah, a few years. Yeah,
1849.
49, exactly. Yeah, so we moved, the big landmark really was moving onto the street. So 1846 really was a landmark change to get the Savile Row street into men's tailoring with Henry Poole.
And where would Lobb have first been?
I was thinking his first store was in Regent Street. So actually 296. Was it 296 Regent Street? But it was close to here. But then it moved. There were two premises. The first one was there. Then there was a premises there. And the premises at the top of St James's Street. Mm-hmm. And then the shop in Regent Street closed. And we maintained the premise presence in St James's Street ever since.
Yeah. And so you're on your third location now, effectively.
Fourth or fifth.
Although we had the shop in Paris, didn't we, in 1901?
Yeah. Well,
notwithstanding. And Poole's opened a shop in Paris at some point.
Yes, that's right, we did as well. I mean, we had shops, thanks to my great-grandfather, we had shops in Paris and also in Berlin, but they sadly closed with the war.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting era where, that you'd have British heritage firms actually having a physical presence in Paris.
Yeah, well, it was common. Our grandfather, his father was the one who opened, John Lobb's son. Mm-hmm. He opened the shop in Paris in 1901, I think. Yeah. Mm. And that continued for many years. And our grandfather worked in Paris for a long time, and he liked living in Paris. So there was a lot of backwards and forwards between Paris and London.
Well, but in that day and age, of course, the travel isn't like it is today where you can just courier packages back and forth. So in order to really have a presence in Paris and to serve the clientele there, you would have needed a shop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Howard Cundey was the one who did it in Paris. And then Samuel Cundey, his son, and Hugh Cundey were the ones that were going backwards and forwards. Yeah. And it was that period of time. So people like Charles de Gaulle, Winston Churchill were very much in Poole at that time, going backwards and forwards.
Well, it's fascinating, I'm sure, how intertwined the two families' histories, are probably more to a greater extent than anyone probably really understands or realizes, right? Because your families would have been colleagues. Yeah.
Well, it's the first I've learned today that you had a shop in Regent Street because, frankly, we were in Regent Street before moving into the Row, so we would have been both in Regent Street at the same time in some respects.
Well, at that time, it would have been the street to be on, I suppose.
Yeah. Savile Row really was your parking space for your carriages, and you would have been walking out there to sort of...
You guys moved here for cheaper rent.
That's how it started, the back streets.
the back. Yeah.
So this is where we are today. I was thinking it was really paying homage to our families and the years of travel that they went through to seek and enjoy customers from all over the world. And it was really reaching out to them. And I think, obviously, your great-uncle really was one of the first, I think, if I'm right, William.
He was, that's how he kept the company going from after the Second World War when it's in a very bad way. That's how we managed to get the orders and keep it going. He was one of the first people to go out on the QE2. I think he was probably with a group of various shoemakers and tailors at the time, doing a similar kind of thing. But it was really important for us. And I think he'd made contact with an American customer over there, and he had some of these customers that we had in America were really helpful and very supportive.
Grew the business.
Yeah.
So would have Lobb not been traveling to America prior to the end of World War II?
Not as far as I'm aware, no. I think
it was... And then how early had Poole been traveling to America?
So this started about 1952 with one of our cutters here.
Okay, so still quite...
Oh, yeah.
Much later than I would have anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, we had always customers coming over in big steamboats of their own that would come into Europe. They would have come to Southampton, they would have come into London, they would have seen their tailors, shoemakers, and then carried on to Europe. They would have gone on to Italy, to Rome, to Paris, and then come back to London, have their fittings, take their clothes, and then go back to America. And that was a sort of method in those days. But with the movement of obviously the cruise liners, it started the precedent where we can actually go and fit customers. Yeah. Even though, I mean, our guys were away for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, a long time. And my father was away. Your father probably was away for 3 months at a time. We were waiting.
To come back.
Well, our father was obviously, that was the transition from the boat to the plane.
Yeah.
So his first trip to America was by boat.
Yeah.
And then it was, I suppose, in the 70s or something, he started flying.
That's it.
And that's obviously transformed the whole business of traveling. Changed everything. And, and now that's really the way we've continued since then.
Yeah. And so he would have had 10 years, effectively, still traveling by steamer.
Well, my father did, I think, travelled maybe 2 or 3 times on the boat.
Before the air.
Something like that,
He took over sort of travelling for my uncle.
Yeah.
And then it was the plane.
Yeah, we're talking about the days of Pan Am and BOAC, those big old days, and big planes. It was an adventure. I mean, it was a big jaunt. It was a big adventure. It was a lifestyle change because you're away for so long that you had to adapt to being away. Telex was a big part of it. That's the information was coming back. So we used to get the telex machine sending us over measures.
Really?
So that's how we would actually get the customers. So, this is a different way now.
Predates, so it's like, almost the telegraph. It's like,
that's right.
Well, we're busy tapping away emails and sending instant information back.
It's so much easier now. But travel, has always been a cornerstone or kind of a fundamental. It's interesting to just consider how, in a lot of ways, this trade has been global for a long time, right? I mean, first, doing business in Paris, right, at the turn of the 20th century. And then post-World War II, really beginning to travel to America. Yeah.
No, I think that's what's amazing for Poole when I go down to the archives is seeing, the India, the Japans of 1910, 1912, 1915 really suddenly grow, which was an area which was so, understated and people were fascinated with the Western dress. But that's where we are today is, these days we still travel a lot to Americas, Europe, Far East. So we need that sort of change in our landscape and in terms of what we travel with and how we travel. Yeah. Not only was it the actual travel in actual steamboats or boats, then we had the railroads of America to deal with.
Yeah, I didn't
so
even
we
think
were
about
moving
that,
from Penn Station into New York, and New York down to St. Louis to Chicago, and then across over to San Francisco. So this is why the months took for travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, they were called trunk shows because you were traveling with massive trunks.
Exactly.
You still travel with a massive amount of luggage.
We still were a lot of trunks. In fact, this week we start with the trunks again. We have about 10 trunks being brought up where they'll be full up with clothes, which are half made for the fitting trip. So that's
and you're shipping these over now to save yourself the
airfare is what we do today. Yeah. Wow. So we can cover, what they used to do in 3 months. We can cover it in about sort of 2 weeks with over different east side and west side. So all in all, it's probably a month travel that we would do, and then they would do 3 months.
Yeah.
Mind you, the trade has changed so much, hasn't it? Because there was I think it's become a bit more luxury orientated now. There were a lot more customers back then, weren't there? And they would be taking. I remember my father talking about once upon a time there was an advert came out in a newspaper whilst he was in some city somewhere, and he had people queuing outside the door.
Good grief.
And he had one would come in and he'd take the next one, and then he'd have a break and he'd be off to the post office with loads of boxes. Then he'd come back and then he'd see someone else. It was just ridiculous. Yeah. I don't know how he did it really. And then so it was a completely different way. And I think and the number of shoes that was being produced was I think they somehow churned them out really fast. I don't know how they did it.
Well, it was a larger trade. There were more makers.
Yeah.
And, one of the interesting things about Lobb, of course, is that over decades have really come to be known as excellent fitters. And one of the ways that you guys take care of the clients remaining efficient, of course, is, not having 5 fittings, being able to be precise in what it is you do as last makers. Yeah. To be able to take a respectable number of measurements, but not...
Well, as an
million, and then to kind of get the job done efficiently.
Yeah, well, as an artisan, you combine that skill and efficiency.
Yeah.
And that's where the skill is.
Yeah.
You do something in a capable and efficient manner, to the top standard, and that's what you learn.
Yeah, and you see this in tailoring too. I mean, we've got Williams and Jonathan's patterns right here, which you would draft the first time for a client, and you'll adjust them, of course, kind of over the lifetime and evolution of that client's relationship. But this is something that allows you, as a tailor, to practice your craft more efficiently.
That's right.
As your relationship with the client deepens.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty, is the first suit takes longer. It's more fittings, it's more adapting the pattern to the body, but each time it's fitted, we're changing the pattern, tweaking the patterns. And then the major parts of things like the length of coat, a button position, width of lapel is done initially in the first ones. The smaller, the second time round, the third time round, we're doing smaller, just tweaking the patterns. But as you can see, with Jonathan's pattern here, the blue is the right, that's the right shoulder, a little bit lower. It's traditionally, most people have a down right. The shoulder blade here is quite worked out, so it's a prominent blade here to work out. But all that now is acknowledged. Yeah, sorry, Jonathan. That's the pointers of it. But that's the beauty.
Don't worry, I've got a dramatic drop right also.
But this is what happens, and these are all tweaked. So the next time you order, and you've had a number of suits, so this time round it's going to be easy for the coat maker to also remember your pattern and also remember your shoulder line, and that's where the beauty is. So. It's just a question of a few measures to take today, and then it's all off we go, in styling, of course.
Another interesting point, just since I've got the two of you here to kind of draw interesting parallels and contrast, right, is that, one of the virtues of shoemaking, of course, is once you kind of settle on the last, right, and it might evolve over the first few shoes, but once you settle on that, a firm like John Lobb is able to go straight to finish because your foot's really not changing. Whereas in bespoke tailoring, because there's such difference amongst the cloths, you still have to have these fittings. With shoemaking, there's an efficiency to it that, once you're happy with your last and the shoes fit great, every pair can be made exactly the same and fit, perfectly.
Perfectly, yeah. I think when it comes down to things like cashmeres and blended fabrics, there's always going to be a bit of movement. But things like linen, things like hard worsters, they're pretty much conform. So it is the blessing we like to do, at least with a customer, so they get a chance to break it in and just check it on the cuffs or the length of trouser. But on the whole, it's a very small amount to do.
Yeah. And if you have an established client, do you take it to a farther stage in the make for that first fitting?
Yeah, so we would have had the base stage, and then we have the finish bar finish stage and the final stage.
Okay.
So we could actually go straight to finish bar finish, or even go to a finish straight out and just do the blessing.
Yeah.
And that's what we like to do, at least do the blessing. But most people will go for the finish bar finish. It's still adaptability to do it quite a
So you still have customers then that are established, they'll skip the base to finish altogether.
Yeah.
And they'll go to the finish bar finish.
Exactly. If the weight is consistent with the customer, and he chooses the similar fabrics, we will go straight to that mark and see him. And that's the beauty when we travel, is that we can get to that stage for these guys. So it's one fit and finish.
Yeah.
That's where the driving force is that make our trade. And the beauty is that I can send them samples of fabrics from their collection they wish to build for summer weights, for winter weights, thinking ahead for their wardrobes.
Yeah.
And that's the joy, is that we can create a wardrobe for them that really surmises all the practicalities of what they need, whether it be evening events, day events, lightweight tropical events. It all covers what we sell here at Henry Poole.
Yeah. One question that would be interesting to hear from each of your own individual perspectives as kind of firms is the importance of that relationship, because, there's a lot of people that I see that, kind of bounce around, from a bunch of different tailors or shoemakers to have one thing made. But really to fully experience the bespoke process, you really need to build depth there of having multiple things made, because it's that, from my perspective and experience, is that repetitive, kind of recurrence and refinement that really allows the tailor and the shoemaker to refine in a very significant way, the last or the pattern and the relationship to create something that really is truly the zenith of bespoke.
We certainly get that. I mean, we work with the customer, we get to know the customer, we build with the customer over the years. Recommendations often come from customers, and you're creating something special for that person. And really, we share the same customers, and that's what's lovely. And I think, for me, coming to Lobb, I think it's a blank canvas, as you know, and I think that's something where you can really create something unique for yourself. But it comes with an education. It comes with a stylistic form of knowledge over the years that you as shoemakers can give. What works, what doesn't work, what the actual leathers work, what doesn't work together. It's the same with us with fabric.
People's lifestyles change. So, they don't want to, having been through the process, which is, to begin with, can be quite involved. They don't really want to repeat it, but their lives change. They want different styles. They want, their circumstances change. In our case, they want a different type of footwear. They become a little bit more casual. And, over time, they just want to be able to talk to someone, someone who understands their past and their history and can then just sort of move on from there.
Yeah. There's an ease and an efficiency.
Well, no, I think it's important, like that thing about getting to know the customer and refining what they need, and obviously we're refining their last sometimes, but just getting to know exactly what somebody wants, and people appreciate that. A lot of people we see are, they're busy people, and they don't want to spend ages trying to explain to you what's it varies, but most of them, it's just like, but it's like, I think that depth of relationship with somebody it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, this is another interesting element of the way I would imagine the trade has changed. Is it used to be that you went to go see your tailor and your shoemaker because that's just the only people that existed to make those things for you. And so you just kind of wanted to get on with it and have it made, but it was maybe just because that's what your family had always had made or where they'd had things made. But now there is a true connoisseurship and like enthusiasm amongst a new generation of clients that are passionate about the craft. And it's that appreciation for the quality, the craftsmanship, and the tradition that drives new people to a firm like Henry Poole or John Lobb.
I think that most of our customers have that appreciation of the craft, and they really want to support craftsmanship generally. I think most of our customers would have that appreciation of the craft is why they're there.
Yeah.
But there are others that just love the craft and love to see and love to understand it a lot more in a lot more depth.
I think for me, seeing the changes, especially obviously over COVID times when people had a chance to sit down for 5 minutes and just look into what products are made where and where they're from and how they're made. And I think there's definitely an element now of craft which has come to surmise from whether you choose a car like an Aston Martin where you can choose every part of that car to detail it, to having a pair of shoes made at Lobb and detailing it. Same with the suit. Yeah. And I think that those people now are really found themselves, rather than go and buy something 2 or 3 suits for a couple of years, they look to something really special, know how it's made, even actually come and visit the workshops here and they see their coat maker, their trouser maker, and that's the whole experience. And that, for me, is a joy to show that and share that with customers. And I think that's a big part of it.
Whenever we were at the Goodwood Revival, it was one of Lord Marsh's children. It wasn't Charlie, it was Freddie that was wearing his grandfather's Lobbs. And I think did even have like a vintage Poole suit on or something. But it speaks to the longevity of something that's well made. Well, back to one of the things that kind of brought us here today. So I know we've got 2 really kind of interesting things that you guys have been working on.
So we collaborated with Fox Brothers, which is a beautiful mill down in the West Country in a place called Wellington. It really was the mill where obviously the Duke of Wellington really founded his mill. This now has gone from flannels really into many performance-related fabrics, and this is one of them being the high performance high twist. So it's a perfect suit to travel with. It will have a great recovery. We made it into 2 different designs, ideally woven in a way that pays homage to my grandfather Simon Cundey, who really was a travelling tailor and also, got us through the Depression, which was quite a moment of time as we got through the pandemic. We wanted to celebrate these guys that travelled and did their feat for Henry Poole. So we came up with these two wonderful designs, and this is really is a design that will sit on a plane for 6 hours and stand up, and it will just come out again. So, in doing so.
Did you say the Duke of Wellington founded that mill?
They founded that mill, that's right.
The Duke of Wellington, the one...
With the Wellington boot, which...
okay.
Exactly. Wow. So there's I think, come a bit back your way on that one. But this is all part of it, you see. This is the history part that we go back to. And
he was, I guess he had he didn't have his suits made
Not by us, but his military were there. That's what made all the tunics. They spun the cloth for his armies. Okay. And that's where he built this mill. And it really went up to about 5,000 people in this one town, all working at this mill at one point.
Okay, right.
I think he was particularly good at organising and actually providing for his troops.
Yeah.
That's one of his virtues, I think.
Wasn't there
Obviously,
the story
idea
of
that
him organizing the coffee, right? Like, or whatever it was, like in Indian campaigns?
No, he built a school, he built a church, and homes for people to live in and work at the mill. I mean, it's a fascinating place to look at. It's changed dramatically, obviously. In the 80s it changed, but it still has, a lot of credibility to quality, which we see today. Yeah. So we're super happy to work with them, and as we do travel, we're on planes, we're moving from city to city. You want not always to take 20 suits. You want to take 1 or 2 suits that will perform well, and that's the reason why we came up with this fabric.
Yeah. So this is the kind of the traveling workhorse. And part of what we're here today for, William is going to be commissioning one of these.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And then you've also worked on a project, with Lobb on a pair of shoes.
Yeah. So again, working with Lobb again, the beauty is really creating something unique to yourself and something special for yourself. I think, again, we spoke about the situation of travel. Obviously, these days in travel, it's a lot of shoes on, shoes off at the various security gates. So, having a sort of look-alike lace-up with a garter, hidden garter, gives that elegance, but yet practicalities of what we can do in the shoe world.
Yeah. Well, you've been a Lobb client for a long time. Right. When did you have your first pair? How long ago do you reckon that is?
I would say about 1999.
Okay.
That sort of time.
I think I measured you and made your lasts.
Yeah, you did. I did, exactly.
And you're still using the same last?
I am. I don't think I've adjusted it. You've maintained a good form on your foot.
Yeah.
It's quite an individual foot, so I can't really slip onto many other things without feeling. I have quite a wide foot. Some people say I don't need to buy flippers when I go swimming, but
you're a good barefoot skier.
That's right, exactly. So water skiing, you name it. But the bottom line is that this is where the real comfort comes into it, and then detailing. So it's lovely to have.
So one of the great things about such a long-standing relationship, of course, is being able to become more creative in what you're commissioning as your understanding of your needs becomes more unique. So
totally. I mean, I've been lucky enough to experience making a sort of my little nod to a certain design shoe, the Rodney design, and done my little interior, the green linings. So really the next part was to make something really in terms of keeping for travel this time with the shoes on, shoes off at the security gates. So being with William, I came to William and said, look, how can we work some ideas? The leathers we chose, the type of giving a lace format without being laces. Yeah. All these sort of things we created. So that's the idea behind it.
Yeah. So we have your shoes for you here, Simon.
Oh, lovely. It's a big moment. I must admit, William, it's been, my pattern's there, my last is there. So it's the beauty is it's ready to go. And that's what's lovely about it. Wow. Wow.
The black cuff with black grain insert with the Rodney Bro design that you favour.
Yeah.
And the kind of imitation lacing.
That's it. So that's the beauty really here for me, is you've got this beautiful shoe, beautiful last. You can see obviously it's my shape shoe. It's quite unique on that width of it, it's quite wide.
It looks elegant.
Yeah, thank you.
So who did the last? You did the last.
I did the last. It wasn't easy. We managed to get a good balance there.
But for me, you've got the elegance. So the garter is hidden behind, so it gives the flexibility, and it runs from the top area. And then, of course, you've got the Rodney, which is very much a nod to one of our old customers here. Okay. We were both a mutual customer. He had this as his design.
Really? Okay.
And I kept this throughout my various styles, with the monk strap or whether it's just a straight garter. But this giving the laces, really, when you're wearing it, it looks like the laces are there. Yeah. But yet, of course, when you go through security, you can just flip it off and obviously put it through and then put them back on again. And that's, I think, the beauty of something like that.
It's nice. So it breaks up the line of it. Instead of having a sort of smooth thing, which is more like a little bit more like a boot. It goes under the leg. It just gives a little bit of lacing, a little bit of draws the eye down there. Yeah. It's nice.
I mean, this is an interesting, I think, example of what you can do via bespoke. I mean, of course, with a bespoke pair of shoes, you get the fit. Same thing with a bespoke suit. But here, you're really kind of taking it to the next level in that this was a completely one-off design. I mean, you guys hadn't ever made this shoe like this before, had you?
Well, it's based on an elastic, what we call an elastic instep style, but when we spoke to Simon, he was obviously quite keen to, it was this pattern for the tongue.
Yeah.
So we made a lower tongue, slightly lower than we would traditionally, a slightly broader tongue, it's a little bit different to the shape, and we added the fake lacing here, and we incorporated this Rodney design into what is a galoche.
Yeah, so this is the galoche line here, isn't it?
So it's a lot of the details, a lot of traditional details, which have just been sort of played around with.
I mean, everything's been done before, right? But pulling it all together in a way that's very particular to how it is you saw yourself using this shoe, and then here we are.
And we've got the green lining, which is the sort of Cundey sort of colour.
Poole colour. Henry Poole colour has always been the racing green, so we've always kept that throughout my shoes, and very much keeps it going. You know, with the backdrop here, with the colourways that we have here, it's always been that green stage. The packaging, everything is green. So it means a lot to me to have this, made up like this. And it really is, spectacular.
Maybe one day you'll get a green pair of shoes.
Yeah.
That's pushing it. Can't see that really.
So we had, obviously the travel element was very important. So we have here is a shoe which you can slip on and off without having to lace up, which is convenient when you're just traveling. Even sitting on a plane, you just want to kick your shoes off.
It's very smart looking. And then also, you have several Rodneys, which is this,
this
kind of broguing design.
The term there,
but the way that the vamp and the lacing would have been done was different.
Yeah.
That was just a traditional slip-on?
Traditional slip-on, yeah. I mean, that is something which I thought would work, giving that effect of having a lace. But having it so you don't really notice it. It's almost like a double take when you're wearing it. People sort of look.
So when you see it on the foot as well, when you see it with the trouser, you don't see all of the back part. Yeah. Actually, it falls and it just looks very different.
Yeah, no, I love the idea of how, you've kind of settled on the Rodney as kind of a signature, model, if you will. Yeah. And, I really like the idea of just saying, this is the model I love, and then having it made as many different ways possible, and different colors, different materials, right? This being kind of an evolution of that, and it becomes almost a signature.
Yeah, that's just so. The signature front here would be definitely the Rodney with the green, and the evolution of changing the designs is something which you enjoy, and obviously meeting Jonathan and William, we discussed the next project, and that's what's special about it.
Part of the fun of bespoke.
Oh, totally.
You'll see this will shine over time. This will build up, get a good decent bull shine on there.
We can put a good shine on this. I think I can help with that.
Definitely. But now we can be in brown, we could change the broguing a little bit, but the concept can still be there to make it a little bit more relaxing. So if it's a bit more countrified, you might increase the broguing on the next sort of element of it. Or if you want to keep it very, monotone, you would have just made it in straight calf all the way through. So it's definitely different ways you can create the next generation on this.
Because quite often you might have a two-tone, or different colour on these parts here, on the vamp and on the tongue and on the top of the quarters. So it gives quite a few different ideas and things. Even like we've made shoes with. In fact, there was a link up with a Poole customer many years ago, where we had he wanted the same material of his suit put in the quarters of a shoe, which was a similar kind of design to this. It was a bit different, but. He had the suiting material put into the top of the quarters, so he could have it linking up to his suit, which I thought was an interesting idea.
This is an absolutely gorgeous shoe, great design, and the make. I was kind of looking at the make. It's, of course, as one would expect from Lobb perfectly made. And
thank you.
Part of the beauty of a great shoe.
Well, thank you again, Jonathan. Thank you, and Dan. Thank you very much, William, as well, for your ideas behind this as well, for you making it. And obviously now it's our turn to come with the travel suit, with a blessing from my grandfather, Samuel. So we'll be going through the style details on that and having fittings.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so what's next for William then?
Well, it will be really just going through the style. Or obviously, we've made single-breasted button two-fronted. The styling of the next suit could be the same, could be slightly different. We've got linings to choose. So it's all good to go through. And then we'll really hopefully do it in one fitting, based upon obviously, William's a customer already, has his own pattern.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing this. It's a really fascinating collaboration between two of the great houses here. True titans of, not just the sartorial world of the well-dressed, but really a British craft. Henry Poole, John Lobb, two of the oldest heritage firms, still completely under family control, doing and practicing their craft today the same way they have for the better part of, over 100 and some odd years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I think what's special for us is that we still very much, on the premises. It's a chance for you to see and experience really something of a craft, whether it be shoes or whether it be suits. And also the next apprenticeships that we look forward for our generations to survive in, because that's the big part of it too, is that, I think without my ancestors all having that same ethos, we would have been lost in translation. We would have gone to some sort of multi-big company and been lost in really the craft. So I think this is what the big part is to keep it real, as I suppose you say.
An essential part of our work, really,
And knowing the trade yourself. That's the other part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, these days you're trying to maintain a tradition which you can't find outside these doors anymore. It's difficult.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for being such great custodians of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. I'm always in awe of just what you do, and what a privilege for you to be able to share this with me. Thank you. And I know we've had the privilege of filming with both, with everyone here in both your firms. And so opening those doors up and really sharing the craft has been a great honor and privilege of mine. So I look forward to hopefully continuing to be able to explore the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition.
Always.
So, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Always. So, William, delighted to see you again. Obviously, you've been travelling quite a bit. I've just come back myself from 2 weeks in the States, various places. You've been back or about to go out again?
So my brother has just gone out actually yesterday. I went a bit earlier in the year in February and March to Palm Beach and plus a few other places, because Palm Beach you tend to need to be a bit there customers tend to be there a bit earlier in the year, don't they?
Yeah, obviously the temperature's a bit cooler in the north.
Yeah, a bit cold. How was your trip?
Good, no, very good. Yeah, a little bit jaded today, but as I say, just back. But
You got a nice new suit on after you. But you weren't wearing one of these travelling suits?
no, this is all new. So
Okay.
obviously we did that lovely shoot together, where it was all about travel, and we did that lovely slip on, slip off. We did the fake lace, so it looks like you're wearing laces, but it's only actually woven into the shoe itself. And that's been magical to be through security and just slip them off and put them on the belt, and then grab them and put them back on again. It's been brilliant. So
Excellent.
I'm really happy with that. So thank you for that.
Maybe
And
we
then-
need to do a matching belt for those as well.
Oh yeah, could do that. Yeah, and then finally now we've got the cloth that we've worked with. Obviously, going back to my side of the family, this is now launching. As you can see, it all comes back to Samuel in 1953, coming up with the burgundy design of this special red tie, and then we built it into this collection of ties, which you in fact have, I think, the red one, if I remember rightly, or the burgundy
I think
one.
it's the blue.
The blue one as well. Okay.
Yeah, the blue with the cufflink,
Oh, yeah, with the cufflink too.
Yeah.
So then from there onwards, now we've done actually a weave design of the fabric. And not only that, William, we've made it into what we call the high twist format. So this is really the perfect travel suit to go with your travel shoe.
Yeah.
And this is a high twist format, about 10 ounces. And ideally, you just scrunch it up. If you just take a sleeve and you just scrunch up the sleeve, hold it, scrunch it, and just release it, it pops back.
Yeah.
So this is really what the perfect suit is to travel with, where you can be on a plane for 8 hours and then stand up and it all hangs out. And the same with the jacket, it'll just hang out and no creases across the arm.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be useful for me, especially with my work. Yeah, good for many occasions actually. If you're traveling, whatever you're doing. Yeah.
I mean, even in London too, we're just sitting at a desk and you want to get up and go, and it all hangs out straight away again. It's fantastic. So we got the grey for you, and we've made one up, and obviously we got a fitting today. So if you'd like to come through, we can have a fitting.
Thank you.
Okay, come on.